Welcome students. In today's video, we're going to continue to explore long division. Specifically, we're going to do the steps for long division, and we're going to focus on where to put the digits of our quotient as we're performing each step. Before we get started though, why did the 2 4s skip lunch? Oh, because they already ate. Get it? They already ate. 2 4s. Thanks. 8. Okay. Anyway, so division is the process of answering the question, how many are in? So when we're trying to do division, we're just trying to see how many of one number are there in another number. When we perform long division, we break it into a series of steps. We can use the limerick, dad, mom, sister, brother, to remember the steps for long division, which are divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. And we really just repeat these steps over and over again as we're performing the long division for each digit of our dividend. Now, my recommendation would be to always write out the letters that represent this for the acronym, so DMSB, every time you're doing one of these long division problems. Because what that does is it allows you a place to go to if you get stuck. So if you get stuck and forget what to do next, you just look at your letters and go to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at an example problem. Problem states that Joey and his grandma are making cookies to raise money for Joey's school. They make 423 cookies and plan to sell them in small bags, each containing 3 cookies. How many bags of 3 cookies can they make? So when I look at this problem, I've read it first, right? I'm going to go through and circle the numbers here. I have 423 cookies. I see that they're smelling them. Each bag contains 3 cookies. And my question is, how many bags of 3 cookies can they make? So we're trying to see how many 3s they can make out of 423. So we see we can use this question, how many are in, to set up our division problem. So we're trying to divide into 423. So our dividend, the number that we're dividing or splitting, is 423. It goes underneath our bridge. And we're trying to see how many 3s there are in 423, so we put the 3 on the outside of the bridge. That is our divisor. So the number under the bridge, that's our dividend. And the number on the outside of the bridge, that's our divisor. So when we're setting up long division, you could just count by 3s until you get to 423, but that would take a really long time. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into a series of steps, and we're going to do it digit by digit. So remember, our steps are divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, dad, mom, sister, brother. One thing that can be helpful is first listing out the multiples of your divisor, in this case, 3. So I'm just going to list out the multiples of 3 very quickly at the bottom of my page, and this is going to help me to establish a habit that can help me tremendously when you're trying to divide in future problems where your divisor might be a little bit bigger. It's also just good to make sure that you don't make any mistakes as you're going through, and it gives you another point to reference to if you get stuck. As you get good with this, you might not have to do this in the future. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is see how many 3s there are in 4. So, how many 3s are there in 4? Well, if I count by 3s, 3 is my 1, 6 would be 2, that's too many. So I'm always going to go back to the one before it. There's 1 3 in 4. Now, the important thing is building your answer, your quotient, one number at a time, and alignment is very, very important here. I was dividing the 3 into the 4, so the 1 goes above the 4. So I divided. Now my next step is multiply. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 1. We're always going to be multiplying the digit in the dividend that we apologize. We're going to multiply the digit in the quotient that we just wrote times the divisor. So 1 times 3 is 3. So now I multiplied. My next step is subtract. So I take 4 minus 3, and I get the difference of 1. Essentially, that means I have 1 left over from those 4 that I was dividing into. My next step is bring down. So I'm taking the 2 and bringing it down right next to the 1. Okay, so now, again, I'm just going to take my digit of my... So now you can see I'm dividing 3. I dropped the 2 down, so I'm dividing 3 into 12. So my question is, how many 3's are there in 12? Well, 12 is actually a multiple of 3, so I see that there are 4 3's in 12. The 4 in my quotient goes above the 2 that I was dividing into. So my divide step is done again. Notice I'm marking it each time I do it. Now I'm back on to multiply. So again, I'm multiplying the digit that I just wrote in my quotient times the divisor. So 4 times 3, which is 12. I write the product below my number that I was dividing into. And now I'm on to my subtract step. So 12 minus 12 is 0. Now my next step is bring down. So I bring down the 3. So now I'm back up to my divide step. So I see how many 3's there are in 3. The answer is 1. So now I multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. I subtract 3 minus 3 to get 0. There's nothing left to bring down here. And I see that at the bottom, I end up with 0, which means I have an R word of 0. Or, I guess you could say that you have 0 left over after you see how many 3's there are in 423. There are exactly 141. So now we just write our answer out as a statement to answer our question. So how many bags of 3 cookies can they make? So we would say Joey and his grandma can make 141 bags of cookies. So in this video, we covered how to perform the steps of long division, what those steps were, a little bit of vocabulary here as we see we have our divisor, our dividend, and finally our quotient, which is the answer. And we reviewed just a couple of pointers in terms of how to follow those steps and where to put the digits. Make sure you're completing the Try This problems on the back of the page, and I hope you have a great day.